are calling this meeting to order tonight. There's no one here for our public comment session, so we'll go straight to the approval of minutes. We've had a chance to look at those. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes? And do we have a second?
Second.
And are there any questions or comments? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and then we will go straight to the vouchers, and we've also had time to look at that. So do we have a motion to approve the vouchers?
I so move.
And a second?
Second.
And do we have any questions or comments about the vouchers? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, please approve by saying aye. And then the monthly reports for June. Mr. General Manager, do you want to go over those before we vote?
Yes,
on them?
well, I'll be glad to make a comment because it looks so wonderful. I mean, if you looked at the bottom line, you say, oh my gosh, that heat index really has done well. And I'm going to just tell you that that's not necessarily the case. And I'll let Dudley tell you about this GASB and how it impacts the statements.
Okay, thank you. What you see is the revenue and expense summary for the full fiscal year now, and for the month of June, we had a net income in the electric department of $1,091, and that's what Greg's referring to, looking so great. In the water and sewer, we had a net income of $402,000. What distorts this a lot is GASB 68, which deals with pensions. And you see this big credit right here for the month of $481,000. That's because the pension fund did so great for last year, and the way GASB does it, it's based on the prior year because we don't have the numbers through this year all worked out. And there's a big hard spreadsheet that I have to go through every year to calculate this number. And if the pension fund makes more than the 7.5%, then you end up with a credit. Now that gets spread over 5 years, but you end up with a big credit. If it makes less, then you end up with a debit that gets spread over 5 years. And there's a lot of other factors that go into that entry too, but it's very complex, but it really distorts what really happens. So we ended up with this huge credit, which we really didn't have as far as revenue coming in. It is very misleading on the statements, but that's the way GASB decided years ago. That's the way it needs to be done. Instead of a footnote, it used to be a footnote. They said it makes more sense to put it in the statements. I disagree with that, but they got more power than I do. So that's, you take out the $700,000 credit that we had, and then now that number's $200,000-$300,000 in what you're normally seeing. So, any questions on that? That I know that's a little bit.
GASB, what they did is important because many firms underfunded their pension programs. So that never really bubbled to the top in clarity like it should. So the government really took draconian steps in order for the reporting to be crystal clear. What happens is those that do fund and properly anticipate investment returns, this can get pretty skewed pretty quickly, and that's essentially what happened here. And again, for someone that ties their success to net income, it's a great year for them, but next year might not be that great depending on what
And won't because we went through June 30th, and the market went like that. So it's going to flip, but we overfund enough to where it shouldn't be drastic in the fact that they spread it over 5 years both ways.
smoothing.
Yes. So the water department, you see the same kind of thing happening here, $92,000 credit in admin and gen, and that too is due to the GASB 68, which was about $180,000 to the water and sewer department. The other big thing that helped the water and sewer department is this $150,000 right here, capital contributions. That is where developers pay towards projects that we do, and then we have to book those. So Walgreens, up behind Walgreens, the D.R. Horton project, that was $80,000. The shopping center across the street with the wine and liquor store and all that, that was $26,000. Mr. Duncan's project up on Loy Street, his little development there, that was $12,000. You add all those up, and we have to capitalize on what they put in. We have to put into our plant, so that ends up being a capital contribution. So that distorts that number a little bit too. That one I don't disagree with, Gatsby, but the other one I think is misleading.
Well, it's a good day when you have to explain why you have so much net income.
Exactly.
That's true.
So, when you look at where'd you end up for the year compared to the budget that we did 18 months ago, we're 364,000 ahead in the water and sewer and 1.3 million ahead in the electric department. So, as Craig says, I'd much rather be saying that than we were behind. So, and that's all I've got, unless you have any specific questions.
But basically on both of them, if you take those adjustments out, you beat budget, right?
Right.
Which is, I mean, when you normalize the P and L,
That's right.
I mean, that's the key is, the Gatsby stuff taken out, we still were way ahead of our budget.
And know that this
that's
is
the
a
part that
paper entry. I
Yeah.
mean, there is no cash involved.
That's right.
It's not, wow, look how healthy we are. Unfortunately, it's just numbers.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the monthly reports for June?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
And all in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes. And any opposed? Okay, that passes. And then the project status reports. Mr. General Manager, can you share that?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We're tracking 2 in the electric department. Our Todd is in Chattanooga now. Apparently, he thinks that these continuing education credits are important for his PE license. So he's at a conference there acquiring those. Sends his best too, by the way. He was going to drive back in for the meeting. I thought, what a waste of hours of time for him on that. So we encouraged him to stay there because he'll have to be back in the morning. The 2 projects that we are tracking for you all, you have seen before. We have had, with the rash of storms, we have had a difficult time focusing on our normal workload. But saying that, we've got one that we had estimated to come due next month and one coming due in November. We're not ready to revise those, hoping to catch back up, but we're a little bit behind the curve on those 2 projects, hoping that we'll be able to catch up and get those finished on time, and if not, I'll revise them next month. Any questions on those? Again, you've seen these before, and if not, that's all I have, Madam Chairman.
Okay, any questions? And this is just information, we don't need approval, right, for the?
That's correct, yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Then, moving on to the approval under work order.
Yes, ma'am, we have one work order 1426 out of the electric department. This is hanging a double circuit on Highway 61. It's a feeder upgrade. We've got, it's about 3/10 of a mile, and we're going to put 3-phase 795 out there, a primary conductor. It's currently located off the road, and as we've said numerous times in the past, and we'll continue to say this until we get all of these main feeders up to the highway, so we can police that, and a lot easier to adjust. This is Zach. Do you want me to get this?
Yes.
Hey, buddy. I understand that the workload will get you sometimes, and sometimes you have to put your day job first. But we've got Vicki she's doing a great job, and we're just about through this anyway. Nope. No problem at all. No, Steve Clapp says he didn't even know you weren't here. All right, Fran. Mhm. Yes, sir. Bye-bye.
You said Steve, all three
See,
of us.
he's okay.
I can get his name right when I need to. Oh, I'm so sorry.
So he's okay, we're,
Yes, ma'am, he's in great shape.
okay, that's fine.
And he apologized, well, he apologized more than once. The point I'm trying to make is we're relocating as we put new conductor or have to redo a line, we engineer it in order to bring it within the state's right-of-way, which there are so many advantages to that. Historically, years ago, people didn't care if you put a pole in their family room. They were so thrilled to get electric. And now, if in the middle of a field, it takes a nursery to get that grass around that pole just right, like it used to be. In every rut, every bent piece of grass is a rut, and that has to get fixed. So this takes that away. Why put ourselves out in for that? So we have, the policy always is look to route new lines, even if it's not in a straight line, get them out towards the state right-of-way and get it across the roads. It also helps with repair. We can get to the line with a bucket, and we can find it if there's a line down. We're not walking through fields to do it. So we had budgeted $225,000 for this, and we finished running the numbers, and we think we can do it with a 10% contingency at $232,925, and I recommend the board approve this work order for.
Okay, we have a motion for approval of 1426 work order.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
And all in favor say yes? Yes. And that is unanimously approved. And now we have the review of the self-funded health benefits and wellness program.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We are happy to do this once a year. We like to keep the board fully transparent to what we're doing, how we're doing, and we're doing very well at this. And Dudley has prepared some slides for you. And Dudley, if you don't care to review those with the board, that'd be great.
Be glad to. Just quickly look at what we call the accounts here. And we started with 4.4 million reserve. We deposited 3.1 million, and we had some COBRA for premiums. Our claims were 1.5 million. Our admin fees were 86,000. Excess risk 189,000. So we ended up 5.8 million in this reserve account. Now, let's look at this. Let's talk about this a minute. This is how our claims have gone the last 4 years. Medical, you see this right here. This 975 is net of the $170,000 that we got back from the excess risk premium, which we paid the $189,000 for. That's why you have to have excess risk insurance. That was one claim. The dental is holding pretty steady. The prescription drugs is pretty flat. That $476,000 is also net of the pharmacy rebates that we get 100% of, which was $137,000. So that's what Blue Cross brings to the table for us. I personally love Blue Cross. It's been great for us. Greg managed to get us in this plan in the 85 or something. For a long time, we just deposited what we needed to fund the plan. But in 2016, we started depositing what Blue Cross said an equivalent, fully funded plan would cost us. That way we could kind of track and see where we are, you know.
They literally give us the option, in order to get fully funded, we'll just start charging you this premium. So we started banking that premium.
And that's where that reserve comes from. Is that money It's not locked down.
Restricted.
We can use that money. It's not restricted. We can use that money, and we have. Like for this month, is a good example. We're paying a $7 million power bill, so we're going to have to borrow some of that money. But it's good to track, that way you know how well this fund is doing, this program is doing for our employees. It's great insurance. I love it. Had my hip replaced last year. Didn't cost me a fortune. The older, more mature employees appreciate it. You tell a young kid coming in here, they care less about that. You know, they're not worried about that. Probably still on mom and dad's plan, but the plan has done great. We started this wellness program I think in 2012, and we do a lot of little different things. We do the biometric screenings. We had 96 participants. We do a medic blood drive, 118 participants. We do this education here. No, we had 54 on the, I'm sorry, I got crossed up. Got 118 biometric, 96 did the survey. We do this through Covenant. Covenant has a great program. Used to do it through UT, and they canned us. They dropped the program, said it wasn't worth it. So we moved to Covenant. They do a great job with it. We just had the comprehensive blood draw. 121 participants. Draw the blood today. Tomorrow you pull up your little portal. All your results are there. Fabulous. Works great. That's $17,200. Well spent money, because most of our employees are not the type that's going to go get their blood tested once a year. They're just not. And we just did the mammography screenings for the girls. It's just, it forces people to do things. We used to have a urologist come out from UT, and he would just line us up like cattle and knock us out. But again, UT quit offering that. They said the liability or something was not there. So, but it started a great program. It's caught things that I'm aware of that's really important. And it's probably caught a lot of things that I'm not aware of because of the HIPAA rules. So that's a great program. Works great. So overall, health plan's doing great. This excess risk, we have a $120,000 deductible for that. They kind of force me to bump it up every year to keep the dollars the same, and it just makes sense. So we're going to go to 130 next year. It just exposes us another 10,000 and keeps that cost pretty close to the same. And I figure it takes 2 or 3 people for us to lose the money in the premium that they want more for. So, and our experience has been it's either 1 or 2 people at the most. Now that could change, but some years it's 0. So it's worth the extra $10,000 risk to save the money on the premium, because we'll come out ahead most likely.
We don't have an aggregate because we've never been able to justify getting an aggregate so the whole system would have a maximum limit. So we went to the individual, and each individual has a maximum limit. And that's where Doug's talking about, we need 2 to exceed that limit. Anything under that, then, we're in good shape. But we looked at an aggregate because that would give you, I can sleep at night really well kind of thing. Because if we had 15, that exceeded this, then, we would take a serious hit on this. But we don't have that. And historically, we looked since we started this in the 80s, we've never even come close to having a problem with the aggregate. So we don't have the risk premium that is for the aggregate of the plan. And now, of course, that kind of reserve, we're pretty much self-insuring ourselves on the aggregate.
That's all I
Okay.
got. Unless
Any
there are
questions
questions.
from anybody or comments from them? That's very interesting. How many employees are covered by this umbrella?
We have about 127 people on this plan. Yeah.
Okay, other business, Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
Generator?
An interesting fact, an ending fact to this, I looked on the healthinsurance.org, and for 2023, the six existing insurers for the Tennessee Exchange, they proposed a rate change in the amount of about a 9% increase for the 2023 calendar year. So that'll be determined this summer as to whether or not they get that. But those are the kind of increases that you look at, and we've seen 12, 13, 17% jumps, and this pandemic has really been a problem. And when you see the levels where, we're actually gone down, it speaks to multiple facts, and part of that is we don't charge our employees for their insurance, so therefore they don't feel like they've got to lick the ice cream cone because they paid for it anyway, you see. And every time they get sick, it's the first thing is, well, I'm going to use what I paid for this month and go do this. I think they do a great job in that. They don't abuse it at all, and that is reflected, I think, in how the program performs. We did receive a safety report on the 19th of July. We received the results of our annual safety audit that's done, and that was conducted on July the 12th. And it looks at over 300 specific compliance tests, which touch both electric, water, and sewer. And this year, CUB received and achieved a perfect score. And for our safety program, that includes providing external safety training and education through the state, Tennessee Job and Safety Training. Ernie Bowles does consulting for us and does targeted training, supervises and supervised inspections, and he does regulatory compliance, if necessary, also accident investigation. We currently have about 25 written policies that require regular research and revision, and these are OSHA and also federally required written policies like the oil spill program. The quote from the auditor, which I think will sum it up, and I've got that full report, by the way, who's interested in looking through that, when I can give you this great quote. Congratulations on a perfect score on your 2022 safety audit. CUB has scored perfect on two of the last three audits. A perfect score is quite an accomplishment, and CUB should be very proud of perfect scores. CUB constantly scores well on safety audits and has never had over 4 deficiencies noted on a checklist since 2012. Perfect score, which is great. Flizzer. Normally I give you a Flizzer report, and we had 9, so I didn't want to give you 9. But I thought I would summarize for you. We've had a terrible month with storms. I mean, every day, including today. I haven't looked, but I'd say somewhere there's power out. But we had 9 separate reports. We had 5,294 customers restored their power between 11 and 71 seconds. So about 5,300 customers had their power, which was out due to the storms, trees, whatever, lightning, and about 5,300 of those had their power restored in between 11 and 71 seconds. The average power restoration for those 5,300 was 30 seconds. Now, the cost for that has been substantial. July the 5th, the big storm we had, and remember we came off May with big storms in May, but July the 5th, just this past month, 236,000 is what our numbers looking like they're going to be. In the July the 20th, 477,000. So we're looking this month at 713,000 with overtime, with contract crews that we brought in, and there is $0 for FEMA. FEMA looks statewide. The first tier is their $10 million statewide, because they look at big storms rolling all through. And then if the state qualifies, then they'll look to counties to which ones qualify in the county. Well, this storm sat on Clinton. Now, I mean, not even all of Anderson County. You could draw our service area and pretty much say that's where the storm hit. So the county didn't get anything. and the state didn't get anything. So we suffered all of this. Now, we had 40-some poles. I wrote this down. 43 poles in July the 20th break, and 5 poles on July the 5th. Now, to give you an example, in 2019, we had a FEMA claim, and we had 20 poles broken, and it was a FEMA claim. So now we've got 48 poles within the month, got nothing. So, I say that to say, that's a big hit because that's straight line to the bottom line in maintenance costs to keep that up. One of the things, I love that, buddy. One of the things that we're fortunate to have an offset, what I call an offset. We have pressured, and I personally have pressured TVA.
Nancy Large.
Guys, I apologize.
That's all right, buddy.
I've got a grandson that's been through surgery yesterday. I'm trying to keep track of him, but.
Keep
that's not
track
what-
of him.
That's not what that is. I'm sorry.
We have pressured TVA because financially they are very strong this year. And as you know, they have passed through all of the fuel cost adjustments, which are significant, which we all suffer with. But it has improved their bottom line. So with the additional cost associated with the pandemic being, well, it's not even, whatever the supply chain is, I'm not even going to call that the pandemic anymore. I'm going to call that global economics. The supply chain has been impacted, which has impacted us. The geopolitical world has put inflation as high as it's been in 40 years. We have seen cost rise, labor cost, even here in Clinton and throughout the country. So we have these pressures on our bottom line that are irrespective of this $700,000+ in the storm. And I've had 2 conversations with the CEO of TVA, and then through TVPPA, ADPDA, and TMEPA, all of the initials you can think of. We've tried to pressure them, and they've responded because now we're in a different position as what we call a partnership. We have more ability to leverage, and that has, last week I was at a meeting and Jeff Lige was there with his staff, and they agreed to increase the recovery credit by 1%. And remember, we had the recovery credit 1.5% to offset some of these costs. They've increased that to 2.5%. So now it's 2.5%, and that additional 1% means about $600,000, give or take a little bit, on the bottom line, which we project for the next year. So while it won't address the economic pressures that we see and the increase in cost, it's going to help offset some of the storm damage that we see, the $700,000. So I just wanted to let you know we're pleased that we have something on the other side of the balance sheet that's going to help us offset some of these pressures and costs. And it's hard to complain when you're $1 million ahead on your net income. That means nothing, right, Dudley? Madam Chairman, that's all I have unless somebody has a question.
Okay, Mr. Coombs, you have any question, comment? Mr. Clapp?
Nope.
Mr. Long? Okay, so hearing none, we just, on behalf of the board, thank you all for all you've done during what's the worst month since we've had the blizzard?
And for Clinton,
Yeah.
in Clinton, not the system-wide,
Yeah.
but Clinton, that storm sat on us.
Yeah, well, hopefully that won't happen again, but thank you all and our workers for all they did. Okay, meeting adjourned.